2003, the team at BioWare, led by Casey Hudson, would release not only the first and greatest Star Wars RPG ever, but one of the most beloved games of all time. Using the D20 system as a base, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic would take us to the galaxy far, far away 4,000 years before the rise of the Galactic Empire, to immerse us in a story that still captivates to this day, and we want to celebrate that. My name is Noah Friskop, and welcome to Gridlife Love Letters, where we take the time to appreciate something we enjoy and are passionate about. You can get this special episode on our regular Gridlife Digest channels across iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Joining me is someone who is very passionate about this game, and I would trust her knowledge above most. Emma Myers, how are you doing?
I'm conflicted because I just saw The Last Jedi.
We'll get into that later.
Right, we will get into that later. But oh boy, any opportunity for me to just gush about Coder is just automatically fantastic. So I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that was the idea. I haven't met too many people, to be honest, that have played the game, and so I've had to keep a lot of my thoughts about it to myself, besides just on Twitter or whatever. So to be able to talk to someone about it in depth who knows the game in and out, very exciting. So an aspect in particular that the game is praised on a lot is the story. So I just want to talk about, why is the story remembered so fondly to this day? What about it speaks to people? What do you think? What makes it good to you?
I was actually thinking about this not too long ago because I think about this game all the time.
Yeah.
But, and at first I didn't know why. And I really was thinking to myself, I was like, why do I enjoy the story of this game so much? Because I've been quoted as saying, and I will always believe, that this is the greatest Star Wars story ever told. And spoilers, obviously, but the story of Revan is, to me, the greatest Star Wars story ever told. And I'll limit myself to really only talk about the story in the game specifically, not so much the lore about what happens before and after. But I think what goes hand in hand with the story is the characters as well. And I think that the cast of characters in this game are so different and unique and well fleshed out, to when you actually get to, the story, you're a no one. You're this Republic soldier or scout or whatever you pick.
Scoundrel or scout or whatever else.
Yeah, I usually play as a scout, I think. The dude in the snazzy brown jacket that you literally only wear when you're on the Indar Spire.
Yeah, it looks good.
But you just start as no one. And then all of a sudden it's just well, we have to rescue this Jedi. So then you do that, and you spend all this time on the planet Terrace, which in and of itself I think is one of the more interesting planets in Star Wars lore in general. And the events transpire and the planet gets blown up, and you meet Bastila, and right off the bat, your character's relationship with Bastila, to me, is it's hysterical. Because I always play as the sarcastic Revan, which, if you've ever read any of the books and everything, that's how he actually was. He was very sarcastic, and I always just loved doing that. And then you go to Dantooine, and Dantooine is when the story just explodes. When you find out about, you train to be a Jedi, you finally get your lightsaber, and then you start actually learning a little bit about these characters of Revan and Malak. And at the time, you obviously don't. That plot twist, which is the greatest plot twist ever. To me, it's bigger than Darth Vader being Luke's father. And I know that's a very, very bold statement.
Very bold. Very bold.
Very, very, very bold
Especially
statement.
for the time.
But I do believe that. And I think one of the reasons why I like the story of the game so much is BioWare did a really, really, really good job of, I really feel attached to my character as well as the others, and the world in general. So I actually care about what's going on. I actually care about these people. And, depending on what path you choose to take. Because in the game, you can choose if you want to align to the light or the dark side. I obviously prefer to play it the canon way, so I go the light route. And I just really think that the characters help the story. Because the story isn't necessarily like this mind-blowing thing that we've never seen before. I mean, I think what's different is that you're playing as that person who was evil, then became kind of reborn, but you didn't even know about it, type of thing. And I just think that, I don't know, I think that the story of this, compared to like the movies, for the movies, for example, I just think it's more interesting than the movies to me because of how the fall of Revan, the redemption of Revan, and then even in the second game, which isn't about Revan, but it's also very much about Revan in kind of the same way.
It is tangentially, yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that they were just able to capture certain emotions and aspects of storytelling in these stories specifically that I think the movies just didn't really hint on, for me personally. But
yeah, they took a lot of these Star Wars isms and like kind of the formula, and then kind of took the George Lucas isms out of it. Like they took a lot of like what makes Star Wars good and popular, but then tried to make it a little bit more interesting at every step in a way. Like you have like your, like the Ebon Hawk, which is, your Millennium Falcon comparison. You have, your Wookiee Zalbar for Chewbacca. Like you kind of can go down the line, but just the way that they just do it just a little bit different, it really goes a long way to making compelling. I don't know if I can say that it's my favorite Star Wars story, just because you look at I don't know. I still always go back to Vader's arc, but but no, it's really is fantastic, especially since you do have agency. And unlike you, I really, really enjoy the dark side ending because of just the sense that you think, all right, so Revan doesn't know who he is for most of the game. And so you see that revelation, and then the idea of him like slowly like falling back into his old ways, and then you see that ending, which is just absolutely monumentally dark. Like that's just
right.
That's something you'll never see in another Star Wars movie. Like let's say like if Anakin was like already evil and then lost his memory, became a Jedi, and then just became evil again, like that wouldn't make sense. But the way that it's set up consequentially in this game, it makes it a lot more interesting than another redemption story.
And I just love me a good redemption story. That's why Episode 6 is my favorite Star Wars movie.
Everyone does.
No, I totally get that. And that's the one thing that I wish that they would do more. But like the thing is with this game is like, yes, you can do that. But technically, like if you want to follow the canon ways, which granted, I'm talking canon before Disney just completely obliterated
anyway.
it.
Yeah.
Right. But even though that was an option, the canon way was still to make it that redemptive thing. And then of course in the Old Republic MMO, like the DLC, where they brought like evil Revan back, and it was this whole split personality thing. It was like them trying to, because Revan was a really dope Sith Lord, and it's like them trying to bring him back because they already kind of redeemed him in a way. And I wish that they would do something like that to the scale of not being afraid to have bad guys. Like,
yeah.
I wish they would like make a movie or like a TV show where you would have a Jedi and they would turn to the dark side and they would be evil. Like, and have like everything doesn't have to be so redemptive and happy and the good guys always winning, you know? I
Absolutely.
think the bad guys need to win some too, you know, but
Balance.
that's not what's popular, you know? So I get why they don't do that. People would be mad. But like Empire, which is why younger audiences
So I
now.
don't know what
And
happened, but Google
yeah.
Hangouts just totally crashed on me. So I think it crashed around like you were saying. You began your point about Empire.
Okay.
Sorry
I'll
about
just
that.
start from there then.
It's literally
No, that's
never
fine.
happened. Never happened. 20 episodes into the show.
Are we good to go though?
Yeah, we're good to go. Hopefully.
All right. Yeah. So, like, you look at Empire, which is widely regarded as most people's favorite Star Wars movie, and like that movie doesn't have a happy ending. That's very much bad guys win type scenario. But I think the issue now is, you know, Disney's acquired Star Wars and they're marketing it like you have the whole Forces of Destiny thing and all of these. They're marketing it to the younger audiences, and I do not see them ever doing a bad guy story. Well, and I haven't played the Battlefront 2 campaign, but I'm just going to assume that it doesn't stay an evil story. Like something that's just me assuming and I don't know, but I just don't see that happening.
All right, everybody. I'm about to spoil the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign. Are you okay with that?
I am definitely okay with that.
She turncoats 3 missions in. 3 missions.
Wow.
You get the first mission. You're on a ship. You were captured by the rebels. It's really cool. You get to see the rebellion from this alternate perspective. It's fantastic. Then you go down to Endor. You get to see the Battle of Endor from the Empire side. Fantastic. Then events transpire. Some things happen. Kind of justified, kind of not. Still very disappointing. She's like, oh, they were bad all along. And then, yeah, goes to the rebellion. They accept her, no problem, even though she's special ops and have murdered dozens upon dozens of rebel soldiers. Yeah, no, that campaign has no backbone whatsoever. But while it was Empire centric, it was fantastic, and the just the possibilities narratively that it had were just absolutely incredible. If you want that story, go read the novel that was released alongside it, because she is hardcore Empire the entire time. But that's on terms of like Disney like not having backbone. That's why I absolutely adored Rogue One, because they gave the rebellion like this gray morality that, you know, they have to do unsavory things to complete their goals, and that's something that I think is going to be lost in at least the main episodes going forward. Like they're trying to make it darker but then also cater to the young audience. Like they can't do both. Like there's some really violent stuff in 7 and 8, but they're also doubling back on, you know, this very black and white morality while trying to mask it as, you know, the Jedi have to end and all this stuff. So they need to just double down on one or the other, to be honest. It just doesn't work both ways.
Yeah, it sucks. Like I'm not at all shocked that that's how the Battlefront 2 campaign
So
went, because
disappointed.
it was so blatantly obvious to me though that they were going to do that. Like
I held out hope. I was like, this guy wrote Spec Ops: The Line, one of the most like effed up stories in games ever, and then also Mitch Dyer. But anyone who says that Anita Sarkeesian is their hero, I kind of don't expect anything else. Man, yeah, it was extremely disappointing. I was so ready to just have that entire, you know, Empire story, because like you go back and like the original Battlefront 2, where you go through the whole story of the 501st and then leading into as stormtroopers, you get kind of that, but like the storytelling is not very deep there. Then honestly, the only other example is the TIE Fighter game, where you see the whole thing
Right.
from the side of the Empire, but that was, from ages ago, so it doesn't really hold up. I just really wanted that modern Empire story with the presentation value that is just out of this world in the dice games, but everything else is extremely shallow.
Yeah, and I think that also is why Coder is so strong, is because you can choose what you want to do, and both endings are great for their respective sides.
Absolutely.
I mean, the first time I ever played through, I did the dark side. And because that's almost when you play it and you're like, well, I'm Darth Revan. I have to be bad type of thing. Like, and I was a kid too.
Yeah.
And I mean, that part on the beach when you just gotta mow down your entire crew, like,
heart-wrenching.
It was. Even though I was doing like the dark ending, I was just like, dang, because most games will be like, oh, well, they'll like follow you or whatever type of thing. But oh no, I mean, you fought them. And right, like that was such a gut-wrenching moment for me as a kid playing this game, and it was the first RPG game I had ever played. It was the first game like it at all, my first experience, and it was just brutal.
That's
and
why
then
I
of
love
course
it.
you go to the Starforge, and then then it's just classic dark side Star Wars. That's great. But
yeah, an endless armada will take over the galaxy. Yeah. Man, that's why I love it though. Like, it's nothing else in the franchise is going to pack you that much. And yeah, like when I finished the Battlefront 2 campaign, as disappointed as I was, you can read my review on gridlifedigest.com. Yeah, I was just like, I want to play KOTOR again. It's like, this is what a good Star Wars game is, and we're not going to get that under EA. Like, I've just accepted that at this point. Like, maybe we'll see what Respawn has for us, but until now, like, it's been nothing but disappointments, especially narrative.
Right, like I was really looking forward to like Viscerals. And then look what happened to that.
We all were, because they were doing that gray, like mercenary bounty hunter type of tone that we want from Star Wars. Like, but EA was like, "Where's the lightsabers? Where's Chewbacca?" And we all know how that story ends. Man, it's just really disappointing. Don't buy Battlefront 2. Go buy one of the plethora of really good Star Wars games out on Steam right now. End of story.
Go buy real Battlefront 2.
Go buy real Battlefront 2. Go buy KOTOR 1. KOTOR 2. Excuse me. KOTOR 2 has workshop support. The restored content mod's fantastic. I wish they would update 1 with the same breadth that they updated 2 with, because getting that thing to run at 1080p is really difficult for no reason. Still, yeah, man, Battlefront 2.
What's your opinion on 2? KOTOR 2.
KOTOR 2. I really, honestly, I love Obsidian. Like, they're one of my favorite developers ever, especially for RPGs. Fallout New Vegas, like all of those games. South Park. I like the story of 1 more, but the line-by-line dialogue in 2 is just so well written. And yeah, it's like completely unlike anything else in the series before. It's almost like, this might be too early of a comparison, but if KOTOR 1 is episode 7, like KOTOR 2 very much ditches tradition like The Last Jedi did, if that makes sense. Just, I don't know, it's also a lot slower and kind of less digestible to play, which is a problem, but I think the way that they connect back to 1 was cool. I like the characters. I don't know. I need to go back through it again because it's been a really long time, but overall, I don't know if I put it above 1, but I feel like it doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like, I obviously have such a connection with 1, and the story of 1 is so good, but like KOTOR 2 is still fantastic.
Excellent.
Like what you were saying with Obsidian. I mean, Obsidian can take a great game and make a sequel and make it just amazing. I mean, with I like New Vegas better than 3. The Fallout games are another one of my favorite franchises of all time. And you take KOTOR 2, and they were Obsidian was given this almost impossible task of, here is this amazing game, make a sequel to it, and they freaking did it. They went out and they did it. And it's not only an amazing sequel, it's just an amazing game. Like, I love the characters of, like, Atten. Bayodur with his fancy little arm. Like, now Paragus lasts way too long, and I hate it.
Yeah, it's real bad. It's real bad.
I mean, going to the Enclave on Dantooine and having everything destroyed, and you're playing as, Mitra Surik.
If you're not playing as Mitra Surik, you're doing it wrong. But.
Right. Coder 1 technically supposed to be a dude attuned to the light side, and then Coder 2 you're technically supposed to play as a female attuned to the light side. And granted, the games are very much enjoyable no matter what you do, but I think if you really, really want the full experience, to definitely play them that way, at least once, at least just to experience that.
Do both. But, like most BioWare games, like go through both ways. Like they're both very enjoyable.
I mean, I've played both games like with any outcome. So male both sides, female both sides, but I do not do not like playing as a female in the first game because it's just so wrong to me. It's not the same. It's so wrong, and I don't like it.
Yeah, you picture Revan. I was always drawn to the idea of Darth Revan, like this super badass Sith Lord, and so that's why I was more drawn to the dark side ending. But yeah, like I never picture Revan as a female, but it's I don't know, just something about it makes sense for 2.
When it's just like Revan and Basila's relationship is so iconic, and you don't get that when you play as a female. It's like with Karth instead. And it's just not right. Yeah,
that's like picking Kaden in Mass Effect. Like,
right.
Same voice actor.
Yeah, that shook me. Like, I wasn't surprised because Mass Effect is also a BioWare game.
Yeah.
But like when he talked, I was like, oh my God. And then it took me a long time to get used to it. I'm still not used to it.
Yeah.
But like Obsidian, they took this impossible task and they freaking did it, and they did it really, really, really good. And I didn't think, when I first played Coder 2 for the first time, I had super low expectations. Like, I obviously wanted it to be really, really good.
Yeah.
But the first game is so good that you're almost just kind of like, there's no way. I was like, there's no way they'll have that cast of characters again. There's no way that the planets will be interesting. But I actually prefer Coder 2's planets to Coder 1's planets.
Okay.
I just love Nar Shaddaa. I hate Tatooine. And
yeah.
The one thing about Coder 2, though, is whenever I think back on Coder 2, I'm always just like, man, I hate Paragus. And then I keep thinking about parts in a game that I just like dread. Like I dread playing as, I forget her name, but it's the chick, and you have to fight like Hanhar, that Wookiee, and you're just her.
I can't remember her name.
Her name, I think it starts with an M, but she has no force abilities, so it's not like you can wait and then just force heal yourself. You know, it's like you better hope you have some med packs, because if you don't, you're screwed.
Screwed, yeah. That game can get some chunks cut out of it. Like it, get the do the restoration pack so it fixes like the bugs and stuff, because like it was rushed out the door. Like I don't know how they made such a great game in such a small amount of time, but yeah, it needs some fat to be trimmed.
And then the whole like twin sons fight when you're Atten also sucks, because you're fighting these two like bounty hunter Twi'leks, and you're just a dude, again, not a force user. But there's this table in the cantina that you can like hide behind, and they can't get to you. So they'll just be like stuck in their little running position, and you just pick them away. But
I also really prefer the armor and clothing designs in 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like far and away. Like they adopted like the Jedi, like the prequel looking robes, which I prefer the robes in 1. Just they're very minimalistic look, but everything else, like the characters all just look so much better because the clothing isn't all just, I don't know. The clothing in KOTOR 1 it just never struck me right for some reason.
Yeah, everything's kind of the same, where it's like everybody in the game is wearing like the same exact things. But even like the citizen clothes on like Terrace are literally like the Jedi robes, just like different colors.
Yeah, yeah, it's very true.
But yeah, Coder 2 definitely did that better. But also like they managed to get some like plot twist type things in that game that I for sure wasn't expecting. I mean, like you spend like the majority of the game like finding these Jedi Masters and convincing them to come to Dantooine with you because you need their help and everything. And you get there, you finally get there, you get all of them there, and then Kreia just comes in and freaking just kills them all. Like
Kreia is one of the best characters in Star Wars, honestly.
especially like if you really find out about her, you know, she was one of Revan's first masters. And then right, she's like this total mysterious like person that you know nothing about until the very end, and she's just like, oh yeah, by the way, like, but she was never like, she never said she wasn't a Sith Lord, but she also never said she was like a Jedi. She was always just this kind of like, she was just this mysterious Force user that obviously had a lot of knowledge about both the Sith and the Jedi. So you were just kind of like, oh, she's just this old lady, you know? But then at the end, I mean, that boss fight, that boss fight is brutal.
It's brutal. I thought Malik was brutal, and then, but yeah, Kreia does not mess around. Looking at the whole companion list, like there's some, and also just the ability to be like influence your party members to like to the darker light. And so like if you want to do like a really like full dark side playthrough, like you can drive like almost your whole party to the dark side on like one. Yeah, no, I definitely need to play it again. Cuz I'm just looking at shots. I'm like there's some great stuff here. Yeah, I cannot find the name of the person you're talking about. But yeah, like I said, I definitely put one overall, but two it isn't talked about enough. I don't know about the planets. Progress is way too long, and the fat needs to be trimmed. I'll have to play it and get our updated opinions. But what are your favorite planets on the first one specifically?
Well, I hate Tatooine.
I like Tatooine just because it's Tatooine.
Tatooine is classic, but from like a level design standpoint,
it's
it's
great.
it's just, especially once you get into like the Dune Sea, it's just sand.
And you know who loves sand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But okay, I'll answer this question in light of my favorite planet to do things on, and then I'll answer it my favorite planet like from an aesthetic standpoint.
Okay.
So I think my favorite planet is probably, I would probably say Terrace.
Okay.
And I know that that's just kind of like, oh, of course, you know, you spend the most time on it and whatnot. But I really like Terrace because of, you know, there's all those different levels. You have the upper city, which is like, you know, your standard citizens, more of the upper class, obviously. And then you have your lower city, which is kind of like the ghetto. And there's like, you know, social outcasts that have been thrown down there. And there's a lot of gang activity. And then you get into the underworld where it's like the outcasts.
Like the sewers, like even below
Right.
like the poverty stricken.
And I love the dynamic that the NPCs have. Because like if you're in the undercity, like that first girl that comes up to you and she's like, wait, you're from the upper city. Like, what's it like up there? Like, they just don't even know. And I really like if planet development is a thing, Terrace definitely has it.
Yeah.
there's just a lot you can do on Terrace. There's the swoop bike racing, which I really love doing. You can play Pazak. And just seeing the struggles of each, like the struggles of the upper city, the struggles of the lower city and the undercity. I think it's very well fleshed out. And I really enjoy all the stuff that you can do on Terrace. But from a aesthetic standpoint, I would probably go with Kashyyyk, maybe.
I'd say Kashyyyk for that.
Because you have like Kashyyyk is just gorgeous. I mean, it's the gigantic forest, and you have like the Zerkacorp's kind of base in the trees, and then you meet the Wookiees, and like the Wookiees like settlement is like really cool from an aesthetic standpoint. And then you get to go, down into the Shadowlands where it's dark and damp, and the music is also really good, especially Kashyyyk's. But I think like when people talk about Coder, they never talk about Kashyyyk. It's like the forgotten one. It's like people don't necessarily like it, but they don't dislike it either. But I really like Kashyyyk, but also Korriban. I mean, I really enjoy the story arc of Korriban.
From a lore standpoint, Korriban's my favorite, just because of like all the things you learn about the Sith.
And it's so cool, especially if you're playing from like the light side, so you're a Jedi, and you kind of just like you infiltrate the Sith Academy, and you become like a Sith pupil, and you like learn the ways of like the dark side. And it's kind of cool because like inside the academy you can still do things that like earn you like light side points, like because you're supposed to like gain respect, or I forget what they call it, points basically for Uthar by doing these like things. And like you can like go and interrogate this dude and like kill these people, but then you also have the options to like set them free and stuff like that. And then of course you have the whole story arc about Karth's son and trying to find proof within the academy that the Sith are evil. And Korriban, all the planets are just great except for Manon, because the Selkath, like their voice kills me. I can't handle it.
That's by far my least favorite. Not
it's probably the easiest planet to do.
Yeah.
To actually get the star map, Manon. But yeah, I hate going there. Just because of the Selkath. And I think that's like the four major planets.
Yeah, you nailed it. Let's see. Yeah, they all have such like varied both narrative and aesthetic looks that like it's hard to get burnt out on any of them, because like they don't last usually too long. I really loved the arc of freeing the Wookiees from the corporation on Kashyyyk, and just being able to just because that was like, but really before we saw Kashyyyk in any specific light, because that was before episode 3.
Yeah, before Revenge of the Sith, exactly.
Yeah, when I was the aquatic planet, I did not like that one. Is that when you were like in like the yellow spacesuit underwater and you were moved at like the pace?
Yes, that's Manon.
Not a fan of that one.
Oh my god, that's another thing Coder 2 did fantastic. Is like you'll get in the spacesuits and it's those same suits, but you actually move fast.
Yeah,
you actually move faster than your normal walking speed. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Manon, it's like, oh my god. It'll take you 10 minutes just to cross the tiny little ocean floor.
Yeah. I absolutely prefer the spacesuit sections. I also just like the skyboxes, and that part was pretty cool. Not a fan of Manon now that I have all the memories flooding back into my brain. It's kind of a cool idea, and like the towns are cool, but
Yeah, like it's a pretty
slog.
It's a pretty like I love the whole idea of like going underwater to that base, and even then like the underwater base is really cool. It's just like, gosh dang, you move so freaking fast or so slow.
Slow, yeah.
So slow.
So BioWare games are often loved for their characters. Who was like your go-to party?
In Coder 1, it would probably be Bastila and usually Karth, sometimes Mission. Because I really like both of those characters. I would never take Juhani anywhere.
I killed her.
Because well, that's because the what's that called? Like the path selection in the dialogue path selection is so precise that it's super hard to convince her to like come with you. So I totally get that. It's so easier just to kill her.
And she just has she has a red saber right from the start. I'm like, oh, okay, this is an issue.
Right.
Or did she? Did she ever? I'm trying to remember. Did she? I thought she had like a red saber. Like, oh, you're not a. No.
Yeah, that was really weird. But if you actually talk to her, you know, she kind of despises you because her home planet was Terrace, and she kind of blames you for the destruction of Terrace. Which is just kind of a nice. She's not just angry for no reason.
Yeah, it's definitely valid. Absolutely.
But yeah, usually I would just take Bastila and Karth. Before you find Bastila, I would always use Mission and Karth because I do really like Mission. And then if I ever needed just like 2 Jedi, you know, I'd take Jolie and Bastila. But I never would take the droids anywhere.
Oh, really?
Like HK, he's a great character. Like, great character. But I just never actually took him anywhere. Never took Canderous anywhere. Again, I really like the characters. I would just never... They're not my go-to.
I like to take... so obviously Revan and then Bastila, and then... Yeah, I honestly like taking the droids. So at first, is it T3? T3, yeah.
T3, yeah.
And then eventually HK. So by the end game, I was pretty much exclusively rolling with Bastila and HK. Just because like his dialogue is too good not to miss.
Oh yeah, it's great. And T3 is like, shout out to him because he'll just make you computer spikes. And let me tell you.
Yeah, that's also one of the reasons I take him.
If you're playing Coder, have T3 make you some computer spikes because it will make your life so much easier. So much easier.
Yeah, he's great. That's just for like the hacking type stuff. Like I thought they were worthwhile carrying around. But it is when you do need an extra lightsaber, it's kind of you gotta sacrifice it. I liked how Canderous eventually became Mandalore. Into
that was like, really cool.
He had a cool arc. Let me think. Am I forgetting anybody? Jolie, T3, Arth. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of it's a surprisingly small cast, especially when you look at like the later BioWare games, where they have just a giant list of companions you can take. Which I kind of prefer the tighter group, less.
Me too.
Less uninteresting characters. You can't all have Mass Effect 2 where every character is fantastic. Let me see. Yeah, and Core 2, I'm not... Like I said, I need to go back through and play it again. But who is your go-to on 2?
So with 2, I usually would take Atton. Like, once I actually get everyone, I would usually take Atton and Mandalore.
Yeah. I mean, like that's one thing where like HK's there, but I feel like he's less useful.
Well, you have to actually assemble him.
Mm-hmm. So like by the time it does happen, it's kind of like I already
right. Like by the time you actually get him, like it's like way late in the game. So he's kind of really only there for nostalgic purposes, you know, like you can build him and there's some parts of him that you need that you can only get at like the very beginning of the game. So like if you miss getting like one of those HK parts, like you just can't assemble him.
Yes,
which sucks, but
got to use a guide or something, or just be lucky. Let me see. That's a little bit bigger cast list than 2.
yeah. And like Coder 2 also has like one character that's interchangeable. So like if you're playing as a guy character, then you'll get the handmaiden companion, which is basically just like one of Atris's like clone people. And then but if you play as a girl, you get like Michael, who I always like that because there was this like you'll get this like love triangle between like Atten, Michael, and your character, Mitra. And it's just funny because Atten's just a really funny character. And just some of like how he interacts with Michael, how he interacts with T3 especially is just really great. He's very much a Han Solo character.
Oh yeah, there's you got to have your shoe in Han Solo clone.
Right. Just the witty kind of super shady smuggler guy. I mean, you free him from prison. Like that's how you meet him. So, but I always really liked him. Some of the characters or companions in Coder 2 just seemed more shoehorned in. Like with Coder 1, I feel like every companion that you get is like justified. Like there's a reason for having them there.
Yeah, it never felt like they were drawing for straws in the narrative. Like they all came in.
Right. Whereas in Coder 2, you get like Mira, you know, like her, like this like prostitute. She's not really a prostitute, but like, you know, the sexy character, and Vices and stuff. Like they're just kind of random, but
aesthetically, more interesting design. I feel though. But
yes, I agree.
Especially like
I agree.
Bowder,
like his arm is so dope.
I wonder like what would it feel like if you like stuck something in his arm, like laser? Is it like a lightsaber? I wonder.
Right. I wonder. He could just stick his arm through force fields and it would just disable them. So
that's true. Yeah, I really like Atten. I probably like Atten more than Karth, to be honest.
Me too. I do as well. I don't really like Karth all that much, but
just like he has that banter to him, that Han Solo factor, but not quite as just kind of one note.
If anything, Karth is just like he can just get super annoying sometimes. Like especially in the very, very beginning.
I don't want to talk about it.
God, right? You're just walking through. There's so many. This has been memed so much. You're just walking through terrace, and then it'll just stop, and it'll zoom in on Karth's face, and it'll be like, Karth wants to. It seems like something's up. You should talk to him.
Yeah.
And then you do, and then he just gets mad, and he's like, "Well, I don't want to talk about it." And I'm like, "Fine, fine."
He's the Star Wars Lisa.
Oh God.
I don't want to talk about it. Man, I want to go play Coder 2. Shit.
That bit in Coder 2 when you actually see Karth and Bastila is very nice. Very well done nod to the previous game.
I also like how you can kind of like there's no kind of a save cross save aspect to it. Like that wasn't really a thing until Mass Effect, but how you can convey to Kreia like what Revan was like. So like if you went for the traditional good ending, you could say that that's how he was interpreted through the rest of the galaxy. Mm-hmm. And then if he was evil, it's like, oh, he just kind of fizzled out. Nobody really knows what happened to him. So you can kind of create your own headcanon.
Yeah, I do like that. And even like, because when you talk to Atten about it, when he's like in prison, like Atten assumes that Revan was a female and that it was she was attuned to the dark side, I think. So it's kind of like the exact opposite of what it actually is.
What it actually is, yeah.
So you just kind of get to like fact check them. But yeah, it's super cool that you can do that. So like you can literally, right, like if you play Coder 1, you can do that and like have this sense of continuity. And if you haven't played Coder 1, then it like doesn't really make that big of a deal. And you can just be like, yeah, don't really know. Because I mean, it doesn't really necessarily matter. all that much, but like it doesn't actually change anything, I don't
No,
think.
it doesn't. It's
Like
just
they
cool for continuity.
Yeah, like they very much talk about Revan, but it's never what Revan did after the events of Coder. It's what happened before.
Before, yeah.
So, right, the whole issue with the mass shadow generator and him basically going off and doing his own thing against the Order's will and stuff like that.
That's kind of good. You want to keep people's, because like it very much is you become your own character, so you don't want to kind of intrude on what people think their version of Revan is like, besides his orientation, his alignment. Let me see. Yeah, so I know Mitra kind of has like her own backstory. Like what? So was a Revan's like general. Is that mistaken?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Mitra was like very close with Revan, and she followed him in like the Jedi Civil War, or the Jedi Civil. Is it the Jedi Civil War? Is that the war, or is it
Mandalorian Wars?
the other one? Mandalorian Wars. That's right.
Yeah.
The Jedi Civil War is what happens after.
Yeah, that's
okay.
like yeah.
Yeah. The Mandalorian Wars, and she follows him because when that whole thing happened. Because this is kind of the lore that's outside of the games.
Yeah.
Revan was, the young, handsome Jedi that wanted to go out and defeat the Mandalorians because the Mandalorians were basically just these groups
Space
of
Vikings.
savages, right? that were just going and killing everyone. And I believe actually Revan's mask is it's like the mask of a Mandalorian that like fell in battle. It's actually really cool.
It's it's Mandalore-esque for sure.
Yeah. I'll look up the actual story behind that. But yeah, long story short, Revan decided that he was going to go fight in the Mandalorian Wars, and the Jedi Order basically was like, we're staying out of it. We're like remaining neutral. And Revan was like, well, that's not right. Like, we should, like, these people are obviously really bad, and we should go out and defeat them and help them. And so a bunch of Jedi, Mitra included, followed him. And then you have the whole issue with Malachor 5 with the mass shadow generator. So it's basically this huge weapon, and it destroyed like the entire planet and killed like everyone that was like even in the vicinity of the planet. And so basically Revan and Malak, after the Mandalorian Wars, like sensed a darker threat. So they went off to investigate that. And Mitra and everyone else went back and they got exiled. So that's like Mitra's whole story, is she's this Jedi exile, where the Order took away her lightsaber, they cut her off from the Force, and that's basically where Coder 2 picks up.
And you can find out the rest. Go play Coder 2. So I looked up the origin of the mask. It belonged to a Mandalorian female warrior. And here's a quote from Mitra regarding it. So, without the mask, he looked more human. It was easier to remember he was just a man, with all the weaknesses and vulnerabilities it implied. With the mask, however, Revan was an icon, a symbol. He was a shaper of history, an individual defined by his actions rather than his thoughts, feelings, or beliefs. So, it was very much symbolic for his larger-than-life power. Let me see. It's very cool. That mask is just it's iconic at this point. It doesn't look like the typical Mandalorian mask though. It doesn't have like the point in the eye socket. I can't find anything else like it necessarily.
Yeah, that mask, it was... Yeah, it had to do with the Mandalorians like basically committing mass genocide to the Cathar race, which is the race of Juhani, like the cat people.
Yeah.
and like that was his like ode. Like he put it on, and he was like, "Yes, we're gonna go like avenge the Cathar and stuff." That's another thing about Revan is like his fall to the dark side. It almost wasn't his fault.
Yeah, it was like for the right
Because
reasons almost.
right, like he like him and Malik both like sensed this dark presence, and they went out to investigate it, and they ended up basically, I'm pretty sure it was like mind control. Like they found like the emperor basically of the time, and he like mind controlled them into doing like these things. But then like they were able to break the mind control, I think, but by that point they were like so far gone that they were Sith Lords. So it wasn't like he fell to the dark side for some reason, you know.
For like selfish reasons.
Right. It wasn't like, you know, I'm scared my wife is going to die in childbirth, so now I'm just going to become a Sith Lord. You know, it wasn't anything like that. Like it was like.
Have you heard the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
I have.
It's not a story. Oh, okay. You have. Never mind.
I have.
Let's say it's not a story the Jedi would tell you, but somehow with all this whole discussion, I totally forgot about Nihilus. I fucking love Nihilus.
Oh yeah, he was. God, they could have done so much more with this character.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nihilus, like his design is great. He also like, does he like eat planets? Like, is that his thing? I can't really remember.
He's like not like a physical being, right?
Yeah. He's more of like an essence. It's super cool concept.
It's very cool.
Way cooler than like Scion.
Or even Malik. He's just a dude. I've always much preferred Nihilus's design to Malik's.
Yeah, I really wish in the game they would have explained why Malik doesn't have a jaw, but
so he could wear
Revan
a cool Sith
did
mask.
that to him, right? That's just kind of another like fun fact. Like Malik, even back then, didn't think that Revan was strong enough, so he was like going to kill him, and then Revan was just like zap with his lightsaber and just cut off his jaw.
And he can still talk because Star Wars.
Right.
So
that scene in Coder's really cool, though, when you actually see him without his mask on.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I'm looking up Nihilus. So he is a wound in the Force, more presence than flesh. In his wake, life dies, sacrificing himself to his hunger. So yeah, he's just like an omnipotent. So he was a human male who reigned as a Dark Lord of the Sith during the era of strife, followed by the Jedi Civil War. Before becoming a Sith Lord, he lost everything to the Galactic Republic's war against the Mandalorians, Neo-Crusaders. He survived the activation of the Mass Shadow Generator superweapon during the war's final battle at the planet Malachor 5. So, experiencing the shadow that obliterated almost everything on and around the planet made Nihilus crave Force energy. So he's just craving everything in his wake. Whereas Malik is kind of just more traditional. Also, that's another reason I prefer the dark side ending. It's like it's almost like the master like coming back and defying the rule of two. It's like, no, yeah. I am the master. But
Malik is very much cookie cutter Sith Lord.
Absolutely.
Like, yep, just very, very cookie cutter. But if you actually look into some of the lore behind him, it makes him a little bit more interesting, but
same goes with most characters in Star Wars.
Yeah, I just think that like Kreia being like the main enemy in Coder 2 is just it's better. Coder 2 is better than Coder 1 in my opinion in that sort of way.
Yeah. Like
the fact that like the real enemy is this person that you've been with literally since the beginning. And that's just kind of cool, but Darth Scion was kind of a letdown. He wasn't anything special.
Yeah, unfortunately. I'm just looking at Malik's whole Story. Yeah, he was very much we need a villain that everyone can unanimously hate. Whereas Correa was like trying to do something more interesting with the formula, as was the entirety of KOTOR 2, just trying to shake it up. Man, I don't know how they made that game so fast. 2003, 2004.
Yep.
I mean, it was buggy and glitchy and whatever, but cut content, but still quite the feat. So let me see. There have been some aspects of these games that have kind of creeped out of Legends into canon, specifically, or most notably, the Hammerhead Corvette and Rogue One. Like when they said like call in the Hammerhead Corvette, I was like, no way, like no way. And then it happened. I was like, all right. So they're like slowly trickling in stuff, which I like, and like not related to KOTOR, but Thrawn is now canon again, and just a few like Pazak is now canon again. It's just kind of. So what would you like to see besides the whole thing brought back into official canon, like from this era?
I would love to see that old Sith armor. I know it's like super random and like very minimalistic, but like the Sith armor should be canon. Aside from, I think the whole thing should be canon. Revan should be canon. Like
it doesn't intrude on anything that's happening in the current timeline. Like I don't see why not.
And the thing is like Disney is for some reason so against basing anything in the Old Republic,
or even the Clone Wars, like they won't go back. They got the old original trilogy hard on. Nothing else exists basically to them.
I would just love to see maybe in one of these standalone movies that they do,
yep,
some type of just even just a mention of like the Jedi Civil War or the Mandalorian Wars.
Yeah, just like a little nod.
Right.
Just to say
like
that
even
Episode
4 mentions the Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Like even just a little nod or an ode, you know.
I mean, Revan and Bane were going to appear in the Clone Wars show, but then just because it just didn't work with the scene, they were cut out. So he was really close to being canon, like really, really close. And him and Bane.
And I don't feel like they've officially written him off as not being canon yet, even though Star Wars Revan, the book, is fantastic. And if you haven't read it, you really, really, really need to. But it, I know, is not considered canon because I've seen it. Like if you go to Barnes & Noble or anything, basically all of the Star Wars books of old canon have this like gold band around them that say Legends, which is so tragic to see. But it makes it easy for people who are coming in, like people that are only interested in reading books about Star Wars that are technically still considered canon. It makes it easy to distinguish. But like, if you go to like, let me actually, I don't know if it's still like this, but it used to be if you went to Star Wars, like the main website, and you looked like at the games, they didn't have, it's not like they had every Star Wars game listed there, but they did have ones that are considered canon, and KOTOR was there.
Really?
So I've always held on to that. Because I'm like, see, the official website still recognizes KOTOR. So
the last thing I heard of it was from Disney. Like, yeah, we're all like really big fans of the games and stuff, but like, it's not.
Oh my God.
But that's an interesting wrinkle.
It kills me that they do things like that where they make things like Forces of Destiny.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
And like that is canon and KOTOR isn't. And it just blows my mind.
Yep.
Like Disney Infinity, is that canon now?
No.
Like,
no, it's not. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I'm looking now under games and KOTOR is not there anymore. God, that's That is so tragic.
It's tragic, but half of me kind of likes the idea of it being a legend, like in universe, like not as like the whole like
Yeah.
Legends banner, but like in universe, like because it was so long ago. But yeah, at least
That I
recognize
get.
it. Recognize it in some sense. Just give a nod. Well, Mandalore and the Clone Wars is it's very different. It's kind of more diplomatic, but they have like the hints of the old history, but they don't ever specifically mention the Mandalorian Wars. I don't think, unless they do, in which case that'd be nice. It's been a while since I've seen it. Mandalorian.
They do have the Force Unleashed games listed here.
Really?
Are those? I
There's
thought.
no way those are canon anymore.
Right, I was gonna say. I was like, I am almost 99.9% sure that they definitely said that those were not canon.
Especially since 2 ended up on a huge cliffhanger that'll never be resolved, and they shouldn't be anyway. Like it's not a good story in hindsight.
I don't think I ever even played 2.
It was one of the only games that I really enjoyed that because when you slash a stormtrooper with the lightsaber, his arm like lops off. Like there was a lot of like dismemberment involved, so it made it a lot of fun, but very repetitive. Story was cookie cutter. Some cool boss fights. I don't know, maybe if you can pick it up cheap, like maybe give it a shot, but it's nothing to write home about.
So Coder is here.
It is there. Okay.
Under the Play Online free section. Let me tell you the other games that are in this category. Star Wars Galactic Spy Tatooine, a fun new puzzle game.
Oh, I'm a big fan of that.
Ewok Village, which is basically just Tiny Tower.
My favorite.
Star Wars Racer Rush.
I've never heard of any of these.
Jawa Junkyard.
I think I have heard of Jawa Junkyard.
Soundboard. Star Wars Rebels Ghost Raid, and Star Wars Rebels Strike Missions. And then Coder.
They're basically all the same thing, right? I mean, like
those are all like free like mobile games.
Yeah, but it's on the same level of Coder, obviously.
Right. I don't get why it's under the Play Games Online free section when it's not free.
Yeah, and it's not online.
You very much have to buy it.
It's not free and it's not online. I saw they have it on sale right now for 66% off, so execute order 66% off.
On Steam?
On Steam, yeah. It's like $3 or something.
Because I literally own Coder on everything except for Steam.
Oh, get it on Steam. It's $3.
Which I need to get it on Steam because when Empyrean comes out,
it's a great
I'm going to be all over that.
Great segue. So Empyrean is a fan-funded, well, not funded, but fan-made, labeled as a mod, so probably so that they won't get sued and it won't get taken down. But it is trying to be a faithful recreation of the original game with modern presentation. It looks absolutely stunning. Every time they post screenshots on Twitter, I just, like, my mind is blown. Like, they just posted a few Ebon Hawk screenshots of the interior, and I just, man, I cannot wait. It looks incredible.
I was showing my brother, actually, today, on the way home from seeing Last Jedi, I was showing him, and it's just like, seriously, go check these guys out on Twitter, because what they're doing is amazing, and it's a complete passion project. And man, I wish that I was like a good enough like game developer to like help just in some way, even if it was just like modeling like a base lightsaber design or something like that. Like I would love to just be a part of this so much, but they're doing amazing work, and I am super excited. They haven't done like main party member models yet. I think I saw them say that like they're working on getting all the NPCs and stuff down before they actually start with that. So that should be coming fairly soon. But I'm definitely super excited for that.
I'm looking at like a compilation of all the screenshots. Holy crap, it looks incredible. Like, man. Like Korriban, Terrace. There's a model of a Rodian, just their head. There will be a lot of Rodians, I imagine. Like just like the casinos and the cantinas, the Terrace skyline, Tatooine. Man, if this thing gets released, like we're in for a treat. And they are not really replicating the original gameplay. Like it's more like it has like first person option, which I'm interested in, because I don't know. I like the gameplay is fine, but it could definitely use a modern overhaul, I could say.
Yeah, that's a lot of people that play it, like that haven't played it before and play it now. That's their main like issue is like the actual gameplay because
Yeah.
it's kind of clunky, but it's like it's old school. Like, and maybe it's just because I'm so used to it, and especially since the first time I played those games, I played it on Xbox, which is a lot of D-pad action, let me tell
Oh,
you.
so much
But
D-pad.
I think maybe I'm just used to it, but it doesn't really bother me all that much. I mean, it's very D20 based, and which I like. Um, so there is that like randomness to it. Now, I will admit, it is super freaking frustrating when you're swinging your lightsabers at people and it's just like miss, miss, miss,
Yeah.
miss, miss, miss.
That's the
Like
D20.
that
That's
can
the
get
D&D.
annoying,
That's
right?
the
But I
D&D-ness of
mean,
it.
I play D&D, so I get it. You know, you can be right in front of someone and roll and miss, you know?
It's just
So
that
I
everything's
like the
more,
randomness of it,
yeah,
but
everything's more exciting when you're imagining it in your brain instead of just having models swinging at each other. It has probably the
right.
most interesting visually lightsaber duels just because they actually clash instead of just having two characters just randomly swinging their sabers at each other. Like, go look at Star Wars Battlefront 2's lightsaber combat, which is just absolutely horrendous, and then go look at KOTOR, and like, it's night and day. They really, I think the For Honor type gameplay would work really well with lightsaber combat, but
Mhm.
they're not going to do anything that
Even
well.
like the origin style of combat, I could get behind.
Yeah, yeah, like a Dark Souls almost or
Yeah.
Witcher 3 type combat, yeah. But just like having to aim the blade in like specific directions to block and parry, like I think that would
Uh-huh.
work really well. And like so you can emphasize the clashing.
It would be way more engaging because coder you can literally just be like, okay, attack, and you can literally walk away and like go get McDonald's, and
Yeah.
you can come back and you'll either be dead or you can like you can like set your companions to like the different modes they play as. So if you just roll with two Jedi and set them as like Jedi support, you could just hit attack and then walk away, go get some food and come back, and everyone will be dead and you'll be all healed up and you'll be good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. But just I don't know, just the way that it's animated, I really enjoy. Like especially like when you're fighting with blasters and like, you're shooting, and they're just like taking it. Like it's just like a
Uh-huh.
little bit of a spark and they're fine. So that's honestly why I like playing on easy more, just because like the pacing goes a little bit quicker. Like so, like
Yeah.
sometimes like when you could shoot somebody and then they go down in like one or two shots. Like I'm preferring that, even though it makes you pretty powerful for most of it. The late game's still pretty tough, but
Yeah, when I play the game like now, I 100% play on easy mode because I don't play the game. No one plays Coder for the gameplay.
yeah,
Like
not
you play it
anymore.
for the story.
Yeah.
So,
If you want a better version of that gameplay, just play Dragon Age Origins or something, one of the more newer titles. And I don't even like how that game plays, so it's kind of just
uh-huh.
all that whole style of gameplay. Man. So
But I do love the Coder animations.
yeah, it's really
Just
good.
how like I just love how there's like one or two animations for each thing. So like the dodging the bullets animation
Hmm.
is just
Just
like the
duck
same
down a
thing.
little bit.
Or when you die and you just like clench your chest and you like put your arm up in the air
Yeah.
and you do that oh
Yeah.
noise and you just fall to the ground. And
There's a
even the when you're being like tortured or something and you're just standing there and you're like holding your head in your hands and just like shaking your head back and forth, like
that's
it's
also
just
like
classic.
that's also like the stressed out like animation for NPCs. It's like, oh, help me. Yeah.
Yes.
It's got a
It's just
charm to it.
classic.
It's
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. So something that people have been wanting for a while is a sequel. Even though it's not going to happen, and I don't really want modern day BioWare to tackle it at this point. I don't think they have the chops for it, to be honest. What would you want to see narratively and gameplay wise from a supposed KOTOR 3? Because like for me, like it's kind of what the Hyperion guys are going for, like a
Hmm.
more like real time action RPG style.
What would you want story wise?
Story wise, see, that's the thing. It's like, where do you go from there? I would probably make it completely detached. So maybe it wouldn't even be Knights of the Old Republic, but just another RPG.
Just another right, another RPG set in the Old Republic era.
Yeah.
Because that era is great, and it's technically not been explored in this new canon yet at all.
Yeah. And there's so much there. Even though the Old Republic MMO is still rolling and is still going. Like, I have never wanted to like a game more in my life.
Oh my God,
the Old Republic. Just because I just cannot get into MMO combat. Like, once I build my new PC, I'm probably going to give it another go and just try to get through the story. But just, like, I want to be immersed in Star Wars, and I just don't feel that way when I'm playing, and I'm just hitting hot bars, and there's just random people jumping around all around me. Like, I just can't.
Yeah, MMOs are super freaking hard for me. Like, I do not like them personally. There's nothing more aggravating than trying to do this stupid quest when there's a million other people trying to do this stupid quest, and we have to fight each other to see who can kill this one animal first.
Yeah.
So we can progress in the story.
Yeah.
Like, I've tried to play that game so many times because I just want the story. And there are aspects of the Coder games. I mean, Satele Shan is like, it's a descendant of Revan and Bastila, and she's in that game. The Revan DLC, which is actually pretty cool, but like, I can't get past it. And it sucks. Oh man, it sucks so bad. Because you totally hit the nail right on the head. Like, I've never wanted to like a game more than Star Wars The Old Republic, but I just can't.
I gotta give it another shot, but I just don't have the hardware to do it yet. It's not like that hard to run. My computer just is like barely below like the requirement, so it's like still pretty choppy and framey, and that's just not gonna work. And I don't know, just those trailers are so
some of the best I've ever seen.
Incredible. I mean, and like, that's just not the feeling I get when I play the game. Like, I watched like the trailer with like specifically that focused on the troopers, and then I'm like, oh, I want to go play as a trooper, and then you go do it, and it's just like not that same feeling at all.
Yeah.
Same thing with a lot of MMOs. It's like you look at like the World of Warcraft trailers, and it's like stunning, and then you play. It's like, all right, kill this goat like 3 times.
Right.
I'm gonna go. There's like a really good compilation on YouTube for just all of the Old Republic trailers. It's just, I watch it from time to time just to get that little fix, just because like they tell their own like concise stories in
what could have been.
Yeah,
right.
What could have been. That, like, I remember seeing the very first one in the Jedi Temple the first time, and just my jaw just on the floor, just like, what is this game? I have to play it now, and like just knowing that it was in development for like 10 years, and like they wrote out all of like the languages for all the alien races, and just how much detail went into it and how much budget went into it, and then playing it's like not quite there. Gotta give it a shot.
I remember when it first came out, and I wanted it so bad, but I was also a kid, and I didn't know that it was an MMO. I didn't even know what an MMO meant. So, and this was back before it was free. So, like, not only did you have to pay like $60 for the game, but then you had to pay like a monthly subscription.
Yeah. No,
and
it's ditched that then since, luckily.
Right. And I remember like begging my dad for it. And like, he didn't know anything, and I didn't either. So we went into GameStop, and the employee was like, just like told him that. And my dad was like, oh yeah, there's no way in hell. There's no way in hell
this is
that
not happening.
I'm doing that. And it was like, God, it was so tragic. But like, God, why'd they have to go make an MMO?
Especially, it's really annoying when I hear that, oh, you want KOTOR 3? Well, here's KOTOR 3 through 8. Like, no.
Right.
Like, it's not the same. Like, if they could just like let me play it alone, turn off all of the people around me, so it's just me in there, and so I could like just feel immersed in that world, like I'd be more down with it. But I wish more MMOs had that feature, just like let you turn off everyone else around you.
Right. Because trying to solo it, you can only get so far. I tried to solo it, but there were some times where there was this huge thing I had to fight, and it was literally impossible to do it on my own. So there I am in the chat being like, hey, yeah, can someone come help me? And I would basically have to hope that there was some super high level dude that was like, yeah, I got nothing better to do, so I'll just help this random person beat this boss that I can kill in one hit.
One hit, yeah. Yeah. Just come and swoop in and then leave. Man, I still want to give it a shot, but I just know I'm going to get the same reaction but I can't stop wanting to try because it just, from what I've seen, like once you actually get up into those higher levels and like the story is really good and things happen and it's actually exciting. It's just starting out any MMO, it's just tough to get into, especially alone, and that's just how I prefer.
Yeah.
It sucks. Maybe if we could like get a group together and kind of just cut off everyone else, it'd be a little bit more
I mean,
feasible.
I would definitely be down to try again
Okay.
with you sometime. And even like if we can get like a couple other people, like if any of you guys that are listening want to jump in, like be my guest.
Sherpa
So
us through the story. I'll have to clean out my hard drive because I have like no space for it. But man, I want to try so bad because like there's so much there. Like apparently like some of the class storylines are really interesting, and everyone that says it's KOTOR 3 through 8, I'm like, that's quite enticing, but not seeing that yet. Yeah, what I would want story wise from a KOTOR 3 though, like I said, just kind of separate it. I just want to be able to have a game where I can feel like I am just existing in that world, like I do in playing KOTOR. Like these like multiplayer games are fun, whatever, but they're very quick experiences. Like I just want to be able to just absorb the atmosphere, and that's just something you don't get. Like I want like a Mass Effect 2 style game where I can just like, yeah, like there's like linear action, but then there's also like these open world sections where I can just take in the characters and the world. But I just don't see that happening to the extent that we deserve it.
I don't think it ever will.
It's going to be some bullshit games of service thing.
Right. I would love to see a game with some of the aspects from the book, because the book is so good. And I think that if done right, it could be a really, really, really good game and a very, very fitting sequel to both KOTOR 1 and 2. So if I just had my dream, that's what it would be. It would be a game based off the events of that book, but it's never going to happen.
Yeah, I feel like the time has passed.
Right. And the thing that gets me, though, is like, God, they would make so much money, and it's what so many people want.
They just won't do it.
No, instead, we're getting Battlefront 2s and whatever the heck this
mobile game shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, God. And, like, the whole statement from them closing Visceral about how, like, yeah, we know what you guys want. Or basically they're just like, screw all you guys that want like single player RPG Star Wars game. The money is in games like Destiny and these really crappy multiplayer games. So that's what we're going to make. And it's just, God, it's a big middle finger to like all of us that have been waiting for so long.
So long. And like that was their initial statement was, I guess, completely opposite of what actually happened. If you go read Jason Schreier's article, like he talks about like just the project was a mess and like it just was not going to be good. But that's not what EA said. Like they told us it's like, oh, we want something that people can go back to again and again, and we can give content for it. It's like you can't do that with single player games. Like, well, if you didn't want to give the impression that you hate single player games, don't put out that statement. But that was probably more for their shareholders that don't want to hear that their project was a mess. So it's just, man, I just want the. Okay, here's another question. When EA's license is up, let's say that Disney does not renew with them, what developer would you want to have the rights to Star Wars? Because I don't trust BioWare anymore.
Yeah, and because you really, really dislike Andromeda, right?
I dislike it from a technical standpoint. I think it had a lot of really cool ideas. The mechanics are really solid. It just did not live up to the trilogy for me. There were so many good ideas there. They just got botched. If that game had been had that game cooked for a little bit longer, maybe like 6 months to another year, I feel like it could have been legitimately like a game of the year contender. It just, the technical issues, man, I just could not handle it anymore. I just driving along in the Mako or whatever, and then just having like these crates spawn in front of me because the draw distance is so ridiculously short, just got infuriating. Couldn't do it anymore. It's the only Mass Effect game I haven't finished, and that makes me really sad. The fact that it isn't my game of the year is a problem, because that should have been very easy. I adore Mass Effect, and they fucked it up. But that was also the B team.
Yeah. I have been playing Mass Effect Andromeda, and I love it. Granted, there's a ton of bug fixes, so I don't have a lot of those technical issues.
It's still bad, but it was really bad at launch.
Right. There's still, like, obviously, like, issues with the game. But then again, I also don't necessarily have anything to compare it to. Like, I've put about 10 hours into the first Mass Effect.
Yep.
But I just got I was playing it over the summer, and I got super busy with work, and I just didn't have time. So once I beat Andromeda, I'm 30 plus hours into Andromeda now, and I'm only about 50% done with the game. So once I beat Andromeda, I mean, obviously 100% going back to
the trilogy.
Play back to the trilogy, right? And I get why you don't trust BioWare, but God, I so bad want another BioWare Star Wars game.
Yeah.
Like
I like Dragon Age Inquisition too, but it just was not the level that a KOTOR 3 would need to be at.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think, like, what I would hope is that, like, I just want people that are passionate about the KOTOR games to make a KOTOR game.
And Casey Hudson's back at the studio too. Like, he was the director on KOTOR 1.
If people that are truly passionate about KOTOR, I don't think they couldn't make I'm trying not to double negative here. I think that they could not possibly make a KOTOR game that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, like if everyone was on the same page and they were all really passionate about it.
I would love to see Obsidian do something again.
They're a very ever-shifting studio. They're very much not where the place that they were then. Like, they're doing a lot of smaller projects, like still like big RPGs, but very much like very classical 2D RPGs, like with Pillars of Eternity and Torment, or what was it? There's a game like where you play like as a bad guy. I need to look it up. But yeah, their studio has changed so much throughout the years that they're barely even the same team. Like, most of the Fallout New Vegas guys aren't even there anymore. Oh, it was Tyranny is what I was thinking of, which looks really interesting. Basically, like, it's a very like classic like top-down RPG, but like everyone's evil, so you kind of get a whole different perspective. Yeah, I would like to see them try it too, but like if they don't even have the manpower to do another Fallout, I don't know if a Star Wars game in 2017 or whenever is a good idea.
Now, what would be really interesting is, and this will never happen, but a Naughty Dog Star Wars game.
Like in the style of their third-person action, really high production value. That would be one of the best possible options, but not for an RPG, but for just a Star Wars game in general.
No, definitely not like KOTOR 3 or anything, but give me like a linear Star Wars game. Heck, any era,
yeah,
and
1313-esque.
Just be Naughty Dog, and it would be fantastic. Like,
that's the pipe dream. That would be the ultimate, just amazing opportunity. But that, yeah, like you said, it would never happen with Sony's first party. Like, man, I was trying to think like the ultimate like Hail Mary would be like someone like CD Projekt Red for an RPG,
right?
Just because like they are like the king right now of the open world RPG, but them, like, they're doing their own stuff with Cyberpunk, and so like none of these are realistic, but just hypothetically, like, I'd probably give it to CD Projekt just because they just have their shit together, and the level of quality that they can put out is what something like KOTOR deserves. I can't think of too many studios right now that can deliver. Because like the hype behind KOTOR 3 would be so insurmountable that like not many studios could actually deliver on it. I feel it's almost like a Half-Life 3 situation. It's like, even no matter how good the game is, it's not going to live up to people's expectations.
Right, and I mean, just like you said, like I don't think, as much as I would love to be like, yes, I want KOTOR 3, I don't think I do, in a sense of trying to continue that storyline, because I just don't trust anyone.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I would much rather not have a third sequel to that than there be one and it be awful.
Yep, and just totally like
which is kind of how I'm feeling about these new Star Wars movies, which is a topic for another day.
We'll have to talk that on our main show, but I'm kind of with you. I am more down on Star Wars right now than I have been in a while. These last couple of months have been not great for my own personal fandom between Battlefront and now 8, but I need to see 8 again.
Yeah, I definitely need to see it again. Because even 7, I saw 7 in theaters once, and I had not seen it for a second time until 2 days ago when I rewatched it.
Oh yeah.
And when I was rewatching it, I was just like, there were so many issues that I had that I didn't necessarily pick up on
The
first time through.
Yeah.
So like immediately when 8 was over, I was like, I have very strong opinions on this, but I need to see it again.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta separate yourself from like the initial, and also just like so many like what ifs were raised in 8. It's like now that I have the answer to those questions, I can look at it for what it is, and not just like me in my brain in the throne room scene, hoping, please God, don't turn Kylo Ren, please. So once I can get all that out of the way, I just look at it objectively, because like it's such a. I know it's like we're going back and forth between New Trilogy and Coder here, but like it's just such a a film of like two sides. It's like some of it is executed like such masterfully, and then there's just a lot of decisions that I'm just really not sure about. It's some of it is just some of like the best Star Wars ever, just from a cinematic point, but just narratively and just from some of the character development, like I just don't know. It's very strange. Not sure when we're going to do our spoiler cast. We are going to do a spoiler cast, though, just because there's so much to unpack. Eli especially is, like, really down on it. Like, he thinks it's, like, episode 2 bad, which I think is a little hyperbolic.
Dang,
like,
really?
Yeah. Like, even with, like, all of its problems combined.
I saw you guys talking about it in the group chat, but I hadn't seen it yet, so I definitely scrolled past everything. So,
we were very vague.
Definitely...
We didn't say anything too specific at all.
I'm excited to hear his opinion, though.
Yeah.
God, this is just not what I want. I wanted so bad to like it, but like, I don't know.
With 7,
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Final point on this before we move on. So 7, I was really positive like the first time. Like I really enjoyed it. Like I acknowledge all of its issues completely 100%, but I didn't really care because it was very much like a steer in the right direction. But now that they really have to put their money where their mouth is, and this is what we got, I'm not all that confident anymore. Like especially like with Kylo specifically, I was like, all right, yeah, like he's like throws temper tantrums, but he has a lot of room for character development. And now that we're kind of seeing that come to fruition, I think he's in a good place, but the rest of it is very, very different. But they're also doing what everyone was mad about with 7, which was, 7 was very much a retreading of A New Hope, and this is like totally different. People don't like that either. So it's like, can you, which one do you like less? Like, do you want to just have a retread, or you want to do something different? Like everyone's mad at both. It's kind of a mess. Maybe it was a better idea just to leave it alone at the end of the day and just do anthologies, which I would have liked. But yeah, we'll get into that in the main show or spoiler cast. But any like final things you want to shout out about KOTOR specifically? I know they're big games. There's a lot to talk about in them.
If you haven't played it, play it.
Max.
Like, if you're right, Max.
He's not gonna like it. I feel like he's really not gonna like it.
I feel like he won't either. Just because it's not necessarily his type of game.
He has a very specific type of game, and we all know that by now.
He'll really have an issue with the combat system.
Yeah.
Like I just feel like he really is going to.
Why can't I move out of the way? Why can't I dodge?
What's great about KOTOR is you get this fantastic story, great group of characters, open world, fantastic, and it's not that long of a game.
No, it's very digestible. It's like 24 to 25 hours?
Okay, so it recently became backwards compatible on Xbox One, so you best believe that I played that. And I did a max light side 100% playthrough. It took me about 23, 24 hours.
There you go. That's for like max.
Right. Granted, I know what I'm doing, so I can get through areas really quickly, but I'm also doing everything. So...
And you're probably not going to do everything the first time.
Side quests and stuff that literally, like, don't really mean anything. But, like, yeah, it's not like Mass Effect, which I'm playing now, which I'm 30 hours in, and I'm not even halfway done with the game yet.
That one's
like,
Andromeda's by far the longest. The other ones you can get through pretty quick.
Yeah, Coder, both of them, very digestible.
2's longer,
And
right? Isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
2 is longer.
Kind of to its detriment at times.
Oh, I was going to say something, but I forgot. But
Apologize.
oh, like if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll love it. Like, there's no possible way that you can like Star Wars and not like the story of these games, not necessarily the gameplay.
Yeah.
I've had friends who really want to like the game, but for some reason it's just, there's people out there that like gameplay is the biggest deal to them, and they just can't get over how different and kind of old school that this game is. Because I mean, this game is going on 20 years old,
which is crazy.
I know it. God, it makes me feel so old, but it's an old game, and I think that the people people that haven't played that need to recognize that as well. But the PC versions of the games are still really good.
Especially 2. Like 2 is like a legitimately great port, especially with the restored content mod.
The games, to me, yes, they're kind of the old style graphics, but it's still really pretty.
And it has like the authentic Star Wars feel to it.
Sure. And the soundtrack is great. And if you like Star Wars at all, I really, really, really do recommend playing these games, especially if Coder's on sale right now. Like, what are you doing? Like, go get this game. Go play this game. Like,
right now, both of them. On
right,
PC.
like,
do it on PC. Like, if you want like the most modern experience, just do it on PC. You can run it on a toaster.
Right, for real. I used to play it on my netbook. I had a little netbook, and I had an external disk drive, and I would take my copy of Coder to like my brother's like basketball practices, and I would play it on my tiny little netbook. Like,
that's awesome.
Right, you could run this on a Texas Instruments like calculator.
TI-85 or whatever. Yeah.
But it's just like, if you like Star Wars, you'll love this game. Even if you don't necessarily like Star Wars, the story is still really good on its own. But like, who doesn't like Star Wars?
You can honestly probably play this without knowing anything else.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just because it's so detached.
It's completely self-contained.
Yeah. And like it sets up a lot of the tropes of the film, so you can go into the films like kind of knowing more than you would. Something break?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just heard like clicking noises.
I thought my mic or my headphones, I think like the audio went out for like a split second. But you were getting ready to say your point, so
that just like totally like threw me off. Yeah, I was just basically just saying like, yeah, like even if you like don't really like Star Wars all that much, like, and you're just a fan of like old school like BioWare RPGs, or even like let's say you like Dragon Age, Mass Effect, you want to see like where like the skeleton of those games came from, like play KOTOR. Like Neverwinter Night's probably a little too old at this point, but KOTOR is a good a mid bridge between the old and the new.
I mean, when I'm playing like Mass Effect, I see so many like aspects of Coder in those games.
Yep.
And it's just like, it's really nice, you know?
Yeah, like just wait till you get to 2 and you get to Omega and you're like, this is kind of giving me some Terrace vibes. Like the Undercity and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Just wait. It gets better. But man, there's also, this is what I was talking about. The soundtrack. While they could have easily just used the film score, it has its own like really unique soundtrack that still feels Star Wars. Like, they did a really great job.
It's very much Star Wars.
But not just the same John Williams loop all the time, which I really respect. And last, I also, just before we go, I want to talk about the mini games in the various in 1 and 2. So how do you feel about the turret sections?
The turret sections.
Yeah, like when you're flying between planets and like, you'll get ambushed.
When I when I first played the game, they were the bane of my existence.
Yeah, they're kind of
There
tough.
was like there was I was also playing on Xbox, so even
Ouch.
harder.
Ouch.
But there was like a solid because I think the first encounter is when you leave Terrace, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Like when you're actually flying to Dantooine for the first time, you have to fight. They're like 6 ships, and it literally took me like 2 or 3 days just to beat that.
Yeah,
And
they're kind of tough.
and it's funny now because like now it's so easy. Like the hit detection isn't necessarily the greatest, so you can like snipe these ships from like super far away. But not they're kind of annoying. They're kind of like random encounters later in the games. If you're just like flying to planets every once in a while, they'll be like the ships will come and I'll just be like, gosh dang it, like this is the last thing I want to do right now. But did you like them?
I like them. The concept of them. I feel like the execution was a little muddled.
Yeah.
In my current playthrough of one I'm doing right now with like just a shit ton of mods. I got one that's like basically like a one hit kill on them. So basically like shooting a TIE fighter wing and they all crumble. So like they'll go down pretty quick. I think it helps with the pacing too. They're just like hard to see. It's like you hear like the two, and then like you're dead.
Right, and then you look and they just zoom over your
Yeah,
head and
zoom
you're
over
just
your
like,
head.
well, I'll try to get him next
Try
time.
again. Oh, you're dead. So yeah. If there are any gripes at this point, they've probably been modded out. If that's your thing, it's a little complicated, but there's a few issues you can fix, like with the animations, and there's a really good blaster and lightsaber mod that kind of makes them feel a little bit more original trilogy-esque. If you prefer those sounds, I got them specifically for the lightsaber ignitions. It makes it feel a lot more visceral when you do that. But go play them; they're fantastic. I don't really think I have anything else to say. Last call.
What's your opinion on Pazak?
Pazak? I've never been one for card games in RPGs except for Gwent in The Witcher 3. Like for some reason that one just clicked. I never really spent that much time with it, to be honest. Same with like
I love
Vegas.
Pazak.
Same with like just playing Caravan in New Vegas. Like I just never could get into it. Just because like time is limited and I just want to actually like play the story. If I had infinite time in the world, I could just stay in that world forever. I'd be more into it. That's the general thing with card games than me though. I might give it more of a shot in this playthrough.
Yeah, I think the issue with card games in RPGs is that they're way too overly complicated.
Yep. That's why Gwent is great because it's really simple.
But I like Caravan is impossible.
Yeah.
But and it makes no sense.
And you have to have all the
very
specific cards.
Easy. And it's just kind of like it's super easy and it's like a good time waster. No, I never actually spend a ton of time playing, but like whenever I play, I'll play a couple games. There's like a website that's like called like Pazak Cantina or something, and you can actually go like online and play like Pazak with random people online. And I used to do that a lot, but I really like Pazak.
I'm gonna look that up. Pazak Cantina. They should just make their own game, like a separate game.
I play it. I used to play it like there were a couple of my friends in like elementary school and stuff that played Coder too, and it says it's temporarily unavailable.
Just about to say that, yeah. Unfortunate. R.I.P. Pazak Cantina.
But yeah, we used to like play Pazak with real cards.
All right, that's pretty cool. See, I get down.
Which is a lot of math, but because you actually have to add up everything on your own. But yeah, heck yeah, like I like Pazak. It was just a fun little time waster.
Is it in the Old Republic too? That's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I don't think I ever
got far enough.
Yeah, like I would always try to I've started it like 2 or 3 times, and every time I'll beat Tython and I'll get to Coruscant, but then like once you get to Coruscant, it's just like a giant cluster
of
and I
people.
just can't deal.
Yeah. So I'm on Reddit right now. Tuscan Raider 69 has a thread. How to play Pazak KOTOR. Yeah, so apparently there is a way. But then a lot of people are just going to say, go to the client online, which is now
Right,
unavailable.
unfortunately.
RIP.
Gone.
I'm gonna see about getting Old Republic set up again. I just my hard drive's just packed to the brim with stuff.
Yeah, I just recently got a hard drive, so mine's pretty empty. But one final question from me to you.
Okay.
Do you remember the very first name that you named your character when you played KOTOR?
Yes.
Or do you have like a go-to name now? Like, what was the first name, and then like, what do you usually name now?
It was something Antilles for my first one. I think I just clicked random a bunch, and then I clicked random a bunch, landed on Antilles for the last one, then went to a like Star Wars name generator site. I cannot remember the first name. Something Antilles. I thought it worked because Antilles is a pretty common name in Star Wars.
Right.
Let me type out. So for my current playthrough right now, it's kind of a little play. It's Reyes Vanden. Yeah. Wait, Vanden. Wait, how do I spell it? Reyes Vanden.
And do you use like the what's considered standard canon head of him?
Yeah, so there was a really nice. Like I said, I'm doing it on modded right now. So there's a reskinned one where of like the quote unquote canon head with like the long hair and the beard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's just when I think of Revan. That's what I do. I wish it was a little bit more. The customization was a little bit more expanded in the base game.
Yeah,
but that's something you can kind of fix now. There's a bunch of like alien heads you can do now for some reason. If you want to be a Rhodian.
Oh, that's so wrong.
It's wrong, but if you want to have a joke playthrough, you can do that. And then I usually do the soldier just because that just makes the most sense. Canonically. What is your first name you ever had?
So the first name I ever had was Anakin Thunder.
That's awesome. Anakin Thunder.
Yes. And that is still to this day when I play, that's still what I name him.
Are you serious?
Just because it's so ridiculous, so nostalgic. Like whenever I play KOTOR 2, it's always Meet Your Suruk.
Yeah,
because
like
that is her name.
It's easy for that game. I wish
right.
one had a more concrete answer because I just do that. So
I wish Revan
one.
just had a name, but Revan I don't even think is his like name.
No, that was like his like symbol.
It's a title. Basically, right?
For his war name.
Yeah, Anakin Thunder.
Anakin Thunder. Shout out to Anakin Thunder, the greatest hero of them all.
It's just it's just funny to me. Like, yeah, and just nostalgic.
You're just like this is the best name ever.
I mean, when I was a kid, like Anakin was the big deal.
Yeah.
And like I used to want to name my son Anakin.
Not down.
And like have middle name Skywalker.
Oh,
like
no.
Anakin Skywalker. So yeah, Anakin Thunder. Very original. He strikes fear into the Sith Empire for sure.
I just imagine like this derpy looking Jedi, just like.
I use the head. I'll send you a picture in the group chat. But the head I use is I never use the canon head. It's the one white guy who has brown hair and it's kind of like curly, kind of in the front almost. I know that there's an NPC in KOTOR 2. He's like a general on Onderon, and he has that head, like that character model head. And I just always thought it was funny because it was the one that I always used. So
Anakin Thunder.
It was always great because in
like
KOTOR
sand?
when you have to he does not like sand.
Okay, making sure.
He definitely does not like sand.
Not a fan.
But it was always great introducing yourself to like NPCs. And you're just like, hi, I'm Anakin, Thunder.
How's it going? Was it PMH CO5? I believe is the technical title for the head you're looking for. Like a little bit like a curl on the front. Kind of almost.
Where the heck did you find PMH CO5?
I just Googled KOTOR heads, and there's like a list of like all of the head names.
Oh, I see it in HD reskin for this one. I'll do. My computer is loading, so we'll see if it works.
Filling time.
And this is a picture of Richard Nixon.
That's unexpected, to say the least. Yeah, that's not.
Yes, I think so. Okay. I'm seeing one. Okay, let me actually just Google KOTOR heads and try to find the picture that you're.
It's like the first result on Google Images. Bottom right on the males. Caucasian male.
Yeah, I believe you're right. PMH CO5. Yes, that is him.
I'm all about PMH CO4.
Yeah, that's the canon Revan head. I always thought it was funny that like PMH CO3 is literally like the same character model head of Trask.
Yeah.
Like it's literally the same head.
It totally is. That's something I hope Aperion fixes. Make a few more NPC heads, because it gets a little funny seeing like 5 of the same person.
The KOTOR, like there's a group on YouTube who's made like basically like KOTOR Machinima movies, and the head that they've used for Revan is the PMH A03, and I'm just not down for that.
Yeah, that's probably the last one I would pick.
Right.
Wow. How would you describe this? Because it's an audio show.
It is very
Genghis
Fu
Khan.
Manchu. Right.
I didn't want to sound racist, but that's the best I can come up with right now. Huh.
Oh yeah, some of these reskins are great, but
I tried to do that whole machinima thing, but turns out you can't disable the UI, so that made it really difficult. That was like quintessential. I could probably do it if that was a thing. How do they do it? How do they obscure the UI? Is it just bars?
I don't actually know. I haven't seen it in a long time. Let me look that up.
Because I'd love to know. I got the free camera going. I got all the texture replacements going.
Yeah, there's like 3 episodes, I think, and there's multiple ones, but the one I'm thinking of specifically is the KOTOR movie saga. But there's one here by Official Movie Games, and it has the most views, 264,000.
That's pretty significant.
3 hours long.
Our movie saga. Oh yeah, totally see the head. That's not down. What was the year?
Year of what?
Of the one with the more views.
2015. It's by Official Movie Games.
Okay, it's just not showing me the channel name on the Google. I'll have to look it up later. Yeah, don't use that head for Evan. That's just wrong. Unless you're doing Anakin Thunder, a joke character. Don't do that for your canon one.
What I'm gathering is they're literally skipping all the moving around, and it's like only dialogue between characters.
Really? I feel like that would be really jarring, because like you have.
It's literally like all just it's just all dialogue and like cutscenes.
Okay. Because there's like no way to do that well, because you have to have some kind of transition besides just jump cutting.
I'm not a fan of that particularly.
Let's get just like a few. Now we're just off the rails here. Looking up a little bit. I'm just seeing all cutscenes. I couldn't get the subtitles to disable for the longest time. There's actually pretty good camera work happening. I don't know how they're doing this. There's some gameplay. Some swoop bike animation. I wonder if they're using an external animation and just like rendering in the maps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, there's definitely gameplay here. I don't know how they're doing it.
Which one are you looking at?
So I'm looking at the Star Wars KOTOR movie, with the Asian head that you mentioned.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one that I had seen
There's
previously.
I don't know how they're making this happen because like there is no HUD, and yeah, there is gameplay. It's not just cutscenes, so it's like actually transitioning well. I'll have to look at that more. But anyway, if there's anything else, this has been our Gridlife Love Letters for Knights of the Old Republic. Like I said, go play it again. Thank you for joining me, Emma. I know you will always appreciate a opportunity to talk about the game. Can't blame you. It's fantastic. Everyone go play it. And look out for our spoiler cast on Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. I imagine it's going to be rather heated, especially with Eli's very far-flung stance.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm the future keeper of the Holocron, so...
You have a reputation to upkeep. I
will be telling you everything that I will be erasing.
Quite a bit, I imagine. I probably have to mark spoilers on this episode, now that I think about it, because I said some things. But it's fine. And also look out.
Very light.
But people are very sensitive. Also look out for episode 20 of our regular show. Can't believe it's been 20 episodes already. It's kind of crazy. Going through our Game of the Year picks for the year. And so our recommendation was going to be The Last Jedi, but we didn't expect it to be so damn contentious. So that's going to have to respond to its own video. Look for that. It'll be on the site. We're also going to post articles of each of our Game of the Year picks in lists so you can view them all individually. Look out for that. Follow us on social media at Gridlife Digest Pod on Facebook and Instagram, at Gridlife Digest on Twitter. That's everything.